I just thought I would record this because it's kind of cool. So I was testing the tubes, and this is a 6B. What is it? 6B6. I can't read it now. 6CB6, which this thing uses for a ton of stuff. But I got a short, and it's kind of cool. You can see it shorting out in there. If I can get a better picture of it. Alright. I don't want to burn out my tester. I just wanted to show you that. Welcome back. Welcome to part 2. I hope you enjoyed that little video on the grid to cathode short. So I've just been testing coils and whatnot. The flyback seems to be good. I do have a bit of a learning curve on my Sen cores on how to do a ring test. It failed on the 102, but I can only find instructions on how to do it with the LC53. I'm laughing because the instructions from the Sencore website said for all models except for LC77 and LC102. So it does pass using my LC53. I get 11 rings on one of the yoke settings. So I also, like I said, I ohmed it out, so I've got continuity everywhere. I'm still a little weirded out by this flyback having absolutely no coating on it. Interestingly, the cap was missing from the high voltage, so I had to replace it with one of these ceramic caps. I'm wondering if I should get some either RTV or maybe some super Corona dope, if nothing else, to guess I shouldn't be flipping you guys off. Shore up that lead, because if that snaps, I'm kind of screwed. This is a the Sam's has no equivalent flyback for this set, so the only part number in there is a Hoffman. I'm assuming that for wire relief that this wire should have gone through here, but it's not long enough. If I run it through here, it won't reach the what is that, a 1x2. So if I it will fit here just fine, but you know, I realize that there's not a lot of slack with these high voltage leads, but anyway, it's a bit of a tight fit, but I guess that's better than a loose fit. Okay, I went ahead and cleaned up the contact here, and I had to clean up the top of that HV rectifier was corroded. It had not been connected for quite some time, but I went ahead and cleaned it off. So anyway, like I said, I ohmed out the different sections here. They are pretty much in line. The only thing that I didn't come that close to was the overall ohm should be, I think, 378, I think it said, and it comes out to like 290 something or other. I'm not going to be that worried about it. It's continuity, so something should, hopefully that should work. And then, what else have I done? Oh, I had to glue the horizontal tube. The keyway broke off, so it's been a day of epoxying. I tested the tubes. Most of them were good. The 6K6, one of the pins, one of the filament pins had broken off right at the base of the tube, so I had to order that. Another thing was that these 6AU6s, they were all bad. I think there's 5 of them. 2 of them had shorts, and the other 3 tested pretty much dead, so I ordered a bunch of those. They were cheap. Good news is that the 6 SN7s, which many of you know are pretty pricey tubes because they're used for preamps. Anyway, they both tested strong. They were 2 different brands, so I'm thinking they were replaced at some point. The rectifier tested really good, and well, you know, there was a short in one of the video amp tubes, so I ordered a couple of those just in case. Missing a tube shield, so I ordered some tube shields that should fit. Actually, I'm missing 2 tube shields, so hopefully that will work out. The chassis is really not that bad. I think I'm just going to go ahead and clean it up. I was kind of thinking that this is not a very high hour set because although it's just dusty in general, there was not a lot of that, you know, fuzziness that you get. It wasn't all over the picture tube, it wasn't all over the high voltage lead, and there was a little extra dust here in the cage, which you would expect, but it just wasn't that bad. So, wondering, plus knowing that the picture tube tested so high, and it does seem to be the original. I don't see a weld spot in the neck of the tube. Anyway, another problem I've got was the flyback. This thing had been jarred or something because, flyback. The yoke had some busted pieces out of it. And I'm gluing them back because this here terminal number 6 does have one of the windings connected to it, so I'm being very careful. I don't have all the pieces though, some are missing, so I gotta deal with that, but right now I don't want to touch it. It's being glued. You can see where I glued it there. Anyhow, I gotta take off these rusty bits. This cage has got to come off. The grommet is hard as a rock, so I'm gonna have to replace that. Fortunately, it's the kind that slides off. However, this cage hinges need to come off too, and I'm gonna have to deal with the fuse has got to come off so I can dip it and paint it. So another thing is that one of the cardboardy wire business thingies came off, and I've got to deal with this one too that holds the high voltage because they're riveted on it again. These need to be dipped. So good times ahead. At least I don't have to paint the chassis. I have ordered parts. It's going to be quite pricey. I decided for the cement resistors, I decided to go with the vitreous enamel omites, so we know how much those cost. I think it was 20 bucks just for 3 resistors. Anyway, I just wanted to give you a quick update. And I ordered the coating. I picked up a can of slip plate, but there was a discussion about using Aerodag G. I ended up picking up ordered a can of that from a place here in California, so it should be here next week. And I think I'm going to run a test. It's obviously not going to be very scientific, but I think I'll spray them both on some glass and see what their resistance is. The original coating on the picture tube, I'm getting from the furthest spot from edge to edge, I'm getting about 1K of resistance. So I'm just curious. I'm going to test them both out since I'm going to end up having a can of each anyway. And so that'll be an interesting test. Anyway, the flyback seems to, I keep saying flyback. The yoke seems to be ohming out okay. The verticals and the horizontals ohm about the same, which I suppose is good. That's what my book says. So anyway, I will see you in the next segment when I start replacing some caps. Here's something interesting I came across. This is point 1 and point 2 on the schematic. And for a set that really doesn't look like it's been touched aside from some tubes, according to the schematic, there should be a 100K resistor between those two. So that's point 1 and 2. So I find that kind of curious. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but you see there's a 2700 between 7 and 3, and 5600 between 8 and 6, and 4 and 5. But if you look at those, that green, blue, orange there on both of those sure seems to be a 56K to me. I mean, I suppose it could be red, but it's very orange. By comparison, this one up here, the red, white, red, which on the schematic is 2700, is actually 2900. Kind of interesting. I haven't looked at the color dots. I don't have those memorized on that cap there. That's a 1600 volt cap though, so I'm pretty much inclined to leave it alone, I guess. So I'm still waiting for glue to dry. I got the top part done there. Anyway, I think I'll go ahead and upload this because I talked a lot in the last segment, and I'm gonna hook that back up in here for safekeeping and flip this on its side and start. I do have some of the caps. I'm gonna start doing that. So anyway, I'll see you in part 3. Thanks for watching.